$50,000 per fake location. Prosecutors say Stevens solicited more than $4 million in all.
Well, they drive nice cars and they live in expensive homes, but turns out the Southland doctors defaulted on their student loans.
As CBS2 investigative reporter David Goldstein found out, taxpayers are stuck with the tab.
Porsche SUV.
Dentist Robert Hansen drives a Porsche.
Beautiful house.
From Sky 2, you see the house where he lives in Pasadena, valued at $2.5 million. But Hansen defaulted on his student loan, so taxpayers had to foot the bill.
Doctor, you still owe $300,000. Don't touch me, sir.
Hansen is one of 846 medical professionals nationwide who owe more than $105 million to the government for their student loans. 362 of them, about 43%, are in California. They owe more than $35 million. They're all doctors, chiropractors, dentists who took out loans under the Federal Health Education Assistance Program from 1978 to 1998. They borrowed a maximum of $80,000 from private institutions, but with interest, many owe 2 or 3 times as much after defaulting. Since the loans were guaranteed by the federal government, taxpayers had to pay it off.
You owe over $100,000 on your student loan?
Take plastic surgeon Roya Dardashti. Public records show she's president of Diamond Surgery Center in Encino.
Nice pool.
This pool is in the backyard of the Encino home she owns, which is valued at $1.5 million.
White Range Rover to leaving.
And we saw her driving this Range Rover. But Dr. Dardashti was sued after defaulting on her student loan. She owed more than $101,000, according to the most recent records from the U.S. Department of Education, which were released in September of last year.
You live in about $1.5 million house, you drive a very nice car, but you owe the federal government $100,000. Why is that?
I'm actually paying it off right now.
In a statement, the U.S. Attorney's Office disputes that, saying, quote, efforts continue to collect the money. 22 years after Dr. Dardashti was put through medical school with federally backed loans. She says she's been through some tough times.
Can you tell me why you defaulted on the loan to begin with? Why taxpayers should have to pay?
Oh my God, taxpayers.
And then there's Dr. Hansen,
He's getting out of the car.
who we saw last week driving a Porsche.
You're driving a Mercedes convertible. You live in a nice house in Pasadena.
We first found him in 2008. He had a Mercedes back then when we talked with him about his defaulted student loans. At the time, he promised to pay it back.
It's something that I'm in constant contact with him with. I have payment plans, and I honor my payment plans.
In 2008, he owed more than $200,000. In 2014, the latest records show with interest, Dr. Hansen's debt has ballooned to more than $300,000.
It's the job of the U.S. Attorney's Office here at the federal courthouse to try and recover some of that taxpayer money. But when we asked them what they were doing about trying to get Dr. Hansen's $300,000, the answer was surprising.
In an email, a spokesman said, quote, lawyers have made all kinds of efforts to find Hansen and locate any assets, but these efforts have been unsuccessful for the past several years. But we found him at his dental office in this building in Pasadena, no problem. And this time, he wasn't interested in talking.
You still owe $300,000 in your student loan, sir. How come you haven't paid the taxpayers back? So you said you were going to handle all your payments, and you haven't, Doctor. Are they just thumbing their noses at taxpayers?
Tom Schatz with Citizens Against Government Waste said from our Washington bureau, prosecutors should take action.
Some of these people should just be thrown in jail, to be honest. In this case, the Hippocratic Oath doesn't seem to apply. They may not be doing any harm to patients, but they are certainly harming the taxpayers.
And to college students at Cal State LA like Vicky Honda, it's frustrating.
I'm working full-time, I'm going to school full-time, and I'm still here paying for my loan, so yeah, I don't think it's fair at all.
But to these doctors and hundreds more, the treatment for paying back their loans is to let the taxpayers do it.
You drive a Porsche, you live in a $2.5 million house. How come you don't pay the government back?
David Goldstein, CBS2 News.
Now, after we found Dr. Hansen, the feds filed a motion on Friday to garnish his wages.
Well, Jackie Johnson joins us now, and if you can recall last week, you pretty much have this week figured out.
You're right.
But we want to hear it again, right? I want to hear from you again, Jackie.
Well, if you remember last week, it's just going to be a carbon copy of the Marine. There's
Correct.
going to start to kick in over the next few days. And then